Let us start right in the middle of what happened on Saturday at the Emirates. Arsenal won, but this was not a comfortable afternoon. This was a match played under enormous pressure, with Manchester City sitting above them in the table before kick-off. So the pressure was not just to win, it was to win in the right way, at the right moment, against a side that, while struggling in form, came to frustrate. And frustrate they did. Arsenal created opportunities. They got into positions. But that end product in the final third was missing for long stretches. Mikel Arteta himself acknowledged it after the game. He said clearly that in many areas the team does not finish actions, they get into positions, they have to have some end product, and too often the play breaks up. That is a manager being honest. That is not deflection. That is a man who knows exactly what his team needs to fix. The goal that settled it came from a corner situation. And it was a short corner routine that initially frustrated sections of the crowd inside the Emirates. Martin Odegaard addressed this directly after the game. He confirmed that Arsenal practice all types of corners, short corners, near post, far post, everything. He said that is their quality and they can score in so many different ways. He acknowledged the crowd was a bit frustrated when they took it short, but it paid off. That is intelligent football. That is a team trusting its process even when the crowd is not immediately with them. The goal itself came from Eberechi Eze, and the reaction to that goal told its own story. Now, before I continue, I want to pause here for a moment. If you are someone who wants analysis that goes beyond the headlines, analysis that connects the dots between what happens on the pitch, what managers say after the game, what the injury situation means for Wednesday, and what the title picture actually looks like right now, then hit that subscribe button. This channel exists to give Arsenal supporters the full picture, not just the clips and the highlights. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let us keep building this community together. Now, back to what was at stake on Saturday. The reality for the club is that this was one of the most pressured games of the season. Manchester City were above them. A dropped result would have handed the initiative back to City heading into the final weeks. The margin for error right now is almost zero, and to win the way they did, with players going off injured, with questions about officiating, with the crowd occasionally anxious, and still finding a way to get 3 points, that tells you something important about this Arsenal squad. Eberechi Eze, the X-Factor, arrives. Let us begin with the man who made the difference. Eberechi Eze scored the goal that won this match, and the reaction from those inside and outside the club confirmed just how significant his impact already is. Declan Rice was emphatic in his assessment. He said he thinks Leverkusen was Eze's best performance before this, but that this was a great goal. He said he told people a few weeks ago that Eze's ball striking is unbelievable. He called him a great player and a great guy and said Eze is going to be massive for Arsenal in the next few weeks. Rice said directly, we really need him. That is a captain effectively speaking with total conviction about a teammate. That is not diplomatic noise. That is genuine belief. Paul Merson took it even further. Merson said Arsenal bought Eze for that magic. He said Eze has got the magic. He is very exciting and he plays with a lot of freedom. Merson pointed out that not many people score the way Eze scores. He called him the X Factor. He said you need to get the X Factors on the pitch because they are the ones who make the difference. And then Merson made a bold statement. He said Eze paid back everything in one game. That is high praise from a pundit who is not always generous with compliments, and it reflects the wider feeling around the goal. It was not just important because it gave 3 points. It was important because of how it was scored, the technique, the composure, the moment. Eze himself, speaking after the game, was measured and focused. He acknowledged that playing against top teams and top players is always going to be tough. He said there will always be different challenges. But he was clear that the team did what they needed to do, got 3 points, and the boys gave everything. He said that was everything today. That mindset matters. That is someone who is already thinking like an Arsenal player should think at this point in the season. The record that connects Arteta to Wenger. Now, let us talk about something that deserves more attention than it has been getting. Arsenal have equalled the most wins in a single season in their entire history, 39 wins. The previous record was also 39 wins, set during the 2001 to 2002 season. That Arsene Wenger side needed 60 games to reach that number. This current Arteta side has done it in 56 games. Let that sit for a moment. 56 games compared to 60 games, more wins in fewer matches, and the season is not over. There are still games to play in the Premier League. There is still the Champions League. The record has been equalled. It can still be broken. This is not a small achievement. It is not just a statistic. It is the clearest possible evidence that this Arsenal team under Mikel Arteta is performing at a level that matches or exceeds some of the most celebrated squads in the club's history. Bukayo Saka, the difference maker, returns. Bukayo Saka came on against Newcastle after recovering from injury, and the immediate reaction from Arteta told you everything about how much he has been missed. Arteta said after the game that Saka had a very good impact in the minutes he played. He said Saka is back, he looks sharp, he looks good, and he looks fresh. And then Arteta said something telling. He said, you certainly notice something different in the team and in the stadium when Saka comes in. He was clear. Arsenal need that. That is a manager confirming without any ambiguity that Bukayo Saka changes the atmosphere of a football match simply by being on the pitch, not just his technical contribution. The psychological impact on teammates, the energy shift in the stadium, that kind of player is irreplaceable. With Saka available again heading into the final weeks of the season and the Champions League semi-final, the timing of his return could not be better. The injury concern that cannot be ignored. But here is where things become more complicated, because while Saka returned, Saturday also brought fresh injury concerns that are now hanging over everything. Kai Havertz came off during the match. Fabrizio Romano reported Arteta's immediate reaction. The manager said he does not know how serious it is, but that it should not be too bad. He said the action, the way Havertz describes it, is not too sharp. That is cautious optimism. It is not a clearance. It is a manager hoping and waiting. And Ian Wright, who has well-established connections inside the Arsenal setup, raised the Havertz concern directly during his punditry work on Saturday. Wright admitted he was worried. He knows the importance of Havertz to this team, and he connected the concern to another name that Arsenal fans are desperate to see return. Mikel Merino, the return that could change everything. Ian Wright revealed that he is hearing Mikel Merino is on his way back from his foot injury. Merino has been out since January after undergoing surgery. The concern had been that he might miss the rest of the season entirely and potentially even the World Cup. But it now appears that timeline may be more optimistic than feared. Wright was specific. He said Merino is similar to Havertz in the way he can link play, come and play in corner situations, and that he is a great finisher inside the box. Wright said he hopes Merino can come back into the mix within perhaps 1 week or 2 weeks and fill that gap that Havertz might leave. The situation is significant for one very clear reason. Arsenal have struggled without Merino. He brings an intelligence in midfield that is difficult to replicate. His goal threat from midfield positions, his ability to link play in tight areas, and his composure in big moments are qualities this team has visibly missed during the months he has been absent. If Merino returns before the end of the season, even for the final 3 games, the impact on both the Premier League title race and the Champions League run could be enormous. Gabriel Martinelli, another blow. While some players return, others go down. Gabriel Martinelli sustained a hamstring injury during Arsenal's victory over Newcastle. A hamstring injury at this point in the season, with a Champions League semi-final 4 days away. The severity is not yet confirmed in terms of time frame, but a hamstring injury is always concerning. It is a muscle that does not forgive being rushed back. And Martinelli losing time now, on top of everything else, adds another layer of complexity to Arteta's squad management. This is a squad being tested physically at the worst possible time. And the manager's ability to navigate these absences, to keep winning, to keep the levels high, will define whether this season ends in triumph or falls just short. Martin Zubimendi and the criticism he must respond to. Martin Zubimendi was also withdrawn during Saturday's match, though Arteta clarified after the game that Zubimendi was sick. He was not feeling well at half-time. He tried his best, played a good game according to Arteta, and eventually had to be taken off. That at least is not an injury, but it is still a concern ahead of Wednesday. And beyond the physical concern, there is a performance debate that is now firmly in the open. Gary Neville was direct in his criticism. He said he thought at the start of the season that Zubimendi was a great signing. He called him a good player for Arsenal. But then Neville said something that will have been felt inside the club. He said he was expecting this to be the stage where Zubimendi would be the player. He referenced names like PIERO, Paul Scholes, Rodri and Bernardo Silva as the type of player who can dictate a match with authority. He said Zubimendi needs to organise and get Arsenal on the ball with that kind of control. And Neville's conclusion was that Zubimendi is struggling and has been for a few weeks. That is not hostile punditry. That is a fair assessment based on what we are seeing. And Arsenal supporters know it, even if they are reluctant to say it out loud. Zubimendi was brought to this club to be exactly that kind of controlling presence. Arteta needs him to find that level very quickly. With a Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid approaching, this is precisely the kind of game where that composure and authority on the ball will be tested at its highest. PIERO Hincapie locking down the left. One positive to highlight from the tactical picture of Saturday is PIERO Hincapie's performance on Arsenal's left side. His touch map from the game showed complete dominance of the left flank throughout the 90 minutes. Coverage from deep defensive positions right up to the attacking third. Consistent involvement, disciplined positioning. This is what Arsenal need from their defensive players in the weeks ahead. Solidity, presence, a left side that does not leak. As Arsenal head into a match against Atletico Madrid, an opponent who will look to exploit any vulnerability on the flanks, Hincapie's performance was an important signal. Arteta on officiating, what he actually said there is another element from Saturday that needs to be addressed, because Arteta was unusually direct about it after the game. He was asked why Newcastle goalkeeper Nick Pope was not dismissed during the match. Arteta's response was measured but pointed. He said he does not know. He said the officials will have their opinion, but then he made his own position clear. He said the trajectory of where the ball was going, there was no goalkeeper there. He said if that were to happen the other way round, it would be a red card. And then Arteta went further. He said he is stating the reality of the last two games. He said in crucial moments when everything is at stake, they need everything to go their way, and it has not. He was careful to say he is not making excuses. He said he is doing it now when they have won. He said it was a red card on Saturday, it was a red card in Manchester, and the world would have been different in both moments. That is a manager building a case, a calm, factual case, without drama, without excuses, just stating what he observed and what the consequences of those decisions have been. Whether those concerns are formally addressed or not, the record is now public. The title race right now. Paul Merson and Harry Redknapp gave their assessments of the title race following Arsenal's win. Merson's view was direct. He said if Arsenal win next week at home against Fulham, Arsenal will win the league. Redknapp was more cautious. He said he thinks it is 50-50. These are two different reads of the same situation, but what both confirm is that this title race is not over. It is not decided. Arsenal are back on top, but the margin is thin and the pressure is enormous. Declan Rice spoke after the match with a confidence that felt grounded rather than arrogant. He said Arsenal have 4 games to go and they want to keep winning. He said the squad has played in tough games at the highest level for the last 3 or 4 years. They know what to expect and what is to come. He said Arsenal are Champions League semi-finalists. He said to embrace it, enjoy it and bring it on. That is exactly the mentality a squad needs at this point in a season. Clear, focused, excited rather than afraid. Atletico Madrid, the other side of the injury story. Now let us turn to Wednesday, because Arsenal are not the only team dealing with injury problems heading into that first leg. Atletico Madrid were hit with a significant setback during their 3-2 win over Athletic Club on Saturday. Pablo Barrios, their 22-year-old midfielder, was forced off after going down in pain following a challenge with Eberechi. He clutched his left leg and could not continue. This matters because Barrios was only making his first start since early March. He had been working his way back, and his return had been seen as a boost for Diego Simeone's side ahead of the Arsenal tie. Now that boost has potentially turned into another setback. Diego Simeone was asked about the injury after the game. He said he had not yet seen Barrios. He confirmed the doctors would inform him of the full picture, and he acknowledged something important. He said life often makes things difficult, and they are doing it with Barrios this year with respect to injuries. Simeone did say something that shows where his mind is. He said before the game he told Barrios he trusts him a lot, that Barrios is very important for the team and that they are waiting for him. He said he hopes the injury is as small as possible and that Barrios can be with them at the end of the season. The reality for Atletico Madrid is that they are heading into one of the biggest games of their season with serious fitness doubts in midfield. Barrios has made 35 appearances this season, scoring once. He played the full 90 minutes when Arsenal beat Atletico 4-0 in the Champions League group stage earlier this season. His presence or absence in the semi-final will matter. Paul Merson on Gyökeres in Madrid. Paul Merson made a strong case for Victor Gyökeres starting the first leg in Madrid. His argument was specific and tactical. He said Gyökeres will still play a big part in Arsenal's title run. He said for Europe on Wednesday night, Gyökeres should play because he will hold the ball up. Merson argued that Arsenal will be under pressure in Madrid. It will be a difficult game for them. And when you are under pressure in that environment, you need someone who runs after lost causes, who chases down seemingly hopeless situations, who can win you a throw-in down the touchline. Merson specifically referenced the moment in Saturday's game that he said lifted the entire crowd. He said the biggest moment that lifted everybody was when Gyökeres cleared the ball from a corner and chased it down and won it back. That energy, that relentlessness. And Merson's argument is that it is exactly what Arsenal need in an away leg against Atletico. Gary Neville's criticism of Gyökeres. However, Gary Neville offered a contrasting view of Gyökeres. While praising aspects of what he brings, Neville was critical of a specific moment during Saturday's match. Neville said he thought Gyökeres would get the goals in big moments and put the game to bed at 2-0. He said Gyökeres' lack of quality on a counter-attack chance was poor. He said Gyökeres has to do better than that. This is a healthy tension in the analysis of this squad. Gyökeres brings energy, work rate and the capacity to change a game. But in that counter-attack moment, the finishing quality was not there. For a striker brought in for exactly those high-pressure moments, that has to improve. Transfer intelligence, Ederson of Atalanta. Away from the immediate matchday picture, there is important transfer information now in circulation. Transfer journalist Ben Jacobs has reported that Arsenal are tracking Ederson, the midfielder currently at Atalanta. Atletico Madrid have already agreed personal terms with Ederson, but there has been no club-to-club agreement on a fee. Atletico are not prepared to pay between €45 million and €50 million, given that Ederson's contract only runs until summer 2027. That situation leaves the door open for Premier League clubs. Arsenal are one of those clubs. Manchester United are also monitoring the situation. It is important to be precise here. This is a rumour. This is a tracking situation. There is no confirmed bid, no confirmed agreement and no confirmed move. But it is worth watching closely, particularly given Arsenal's midfield needs this season. The bigger picture, what it all means. Let me now bring all of this together because the individual pieces of this story only make full sense when you see them connected. Arsenal beat Newcastle. They are back on top of the Premier League. They have equalled the most wins in a single season in their entire history. They have Bukayo Saka returning. Mikel Merino is reportedly nearing a comeback. The goal that won the match was a moment of genuine quality from Eberechi Eze, a player who is growing in importance by the week. But the injury picture is serious. Kai Havertz came off and his status for Wednesday is unclear. Gabriel Martinelli picked up a hamstring injury. Zubimendi was unwell. And Arteta is now managing a squad that is being physically stretched at exactly the most demanding point of the campaign. On the other side, Atletico Madrid head into this semi-final with Pablo Barrios now a major fitness doubt. Simeone's team has its own problems. And Arsenal have the experience of having beaten Atletico 4-0 in the group stage already this season. The reality for the club heading into the final weeks of this season is that everything is possible and nothing is guaranteed. The Premier League title is in their hands if they keep winning. The Champions League semi-final is there to be taken, but the squad will need to dig deep in a way it has arguably never had to before. And if Merino comes back in the next 1 to 2 weeks, if Havertz is not seriously hurt, if Saka continues to find his best form, then the possibilities are genuinely extraordinary. That is everything from today's breakdown. Arsenal won on Saturday. They made history with 39 wins in 56 games. They produced a moment of brilliance from Eze. They got Saka back on the pitch. They now have 4 games left in the Premier League and a Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid starting on Wednesday. This is the biggest week in Arsenal's season, possibly in several seasons. Stay with Melissa, Arsenal analyst, for all the build-up, the team news, the tactical breakdown and the reaction. If you found value in this analysis today, please subscribe, leave a comment below with your prediction for the first leg and share this video with other Arsenal supporters who want real analysis, not just headlines. I am Melissa. This is Melissa, Arsenal analyst, and I will see you for the next one.